Hey, you, what is going on, guys? So, I'm so happy to have you here with us in this new podcast episode, guys. So, in today's podcast, we're gonna talk about all the pros and cons of what is living in one country in Latin America. So, as I told you in the last video, I'm confronted to one country in Latin America, so I know exactly everything that someone live when someone lives when is living in one country in Latin America. So there are a good things, but as well there are bad things about every single country. So I'm gonna explain you everything about my perspective as a Latin. And I know that there are a lot of good places, for tourists and for visits and all this stuff. But as well, there are a lot of things that I want to tell you about every single country in Latin America. So, guys, we're gonna start with this episode, and here we go. So we're gonna start with today's podcast, and let me tell you, as I said in the beginning of this video, no, everything is so bad in one country. There are some things that are good in one country, and there are another things that they are bad in one country. So every single country has good and bad things. So before start, for to be more clear with you guys, I want to explain what is pros and cons. So pros and cons means advantages and disadvantages to living in one country in Latin America. Or for to be more clear, it is a good and bad things of living in one country in Latin America. So this means pros and cons. So I told you that I lived for many time in my country. I don't want to tell you right now in one country I live, because or I was living, for to be more specific with you, I was living because that is gonna be for another podcast episode. But something that I want to be clear with you is that every single country in Latin America, it is different. Yeah, it is so different, but they have something in common, and this all the people is so friendly. If you visit one country in Latin America, you always gonna find people on the streets and in anywhere place, that they are so friendly. They only want to talk to you, and they always have that perspective of to be so friendly, and they always want to talk to someone else for whatever thing, probably they could start the conversations with something like, hey, what time is it, or hey, the weather is so good, or hey, the weather is so bad, or things like this. But always you're gonna find on the streets someone that it wants to talk to you, and that's something amazing about our culture, because Latin Americans, we are so unique. Because if you visit all another countries like in Europe or in another places, in other countries, I don't want to mention any place, but they are a little bit more simple, and you can find people a little bit more like angry. But here in Latin America, always you're gonna find people so happy, and you're gonna find people so good. And this is one thing that you can notice about the countries in Latin America. So if you have visited, one country in Latin America, so put your comment here below, and tell me what country do you visit, and that will be so helpful, and as well, if you can comment, what it was your experience when you visited that country. So let me tell you that there are good places in Latin America. We have in every single country in Latin America, we have beautiful beaches, we have places super beautiful, we have mountains that they are so but so beautiful, and there are places like you can enjoy and to stay so good, with a hammock, and you can rest, and you can be with one coconut, and only enjoy your life. And if you're a visitor, so you could probably say something like, wow, this country it's so good, because as well we have a good weather. Because if you visit one country like the United States, so probably the weather in Florida is kind of similar to the weather like it is in the countries in Latin America. But imagine this in places like the United States or Canada, because Canada, I already visited Canada, and wow, that's something crazy, because in Canada almost all the year is it's so cold, and so freezing, and at night you are super cold. So everything is so crazy there in Canada. So in places like this, you don't have the weather like it is so tropical in one Latin country. So this is something good. You can enjoy the beach. You can enjoy the weather. And you can be so chill. So trust me that you're gonna have a good experience in one country here in Latin America. But imagine that we have a lot of things, a lot of places, the people so friendly, and if you're a visitor, you could say, wow, this place is so perfect to live. I want to live for the rest of my life here in one country like this. Because a lot of people that we already visited the United States or Canada, so we know exactly that there's a lot of cultures there in these countries, and you know exactly that a lot of people they have some things that it's so different from your culture, and you cannot do match with these people. So that's something so crazy. When you see another Latin, wow, that's something incredible, because you see your perspective. And let me tell you that there are a lot of people that they are so angry too in Latin America, but it is not like in other countries. So the people always is so friendly, and you can notice too. eh, if you visit it, or if you have a friend or family, and they are Latin Americans, so you're gonna see that. But you mean that you can see like everything is so perfect, and if you're a visitor or you're someone from another country or another continent, you're gonna say something like, wow, Latin America, it's so good. It's so but so good. And yeah, let me tell you that yes, I won't say anything else, but yeah, because all the time that I lived in my country, I enjoy it, and wow, it was something super amazing for me. Trust me, that never I gonna forget all the experiences and everything that I did, and wow, a lot of things that I did in the past in my country. But as well, let me tell you that there are some things that is becoming Latin America like something negative, because we have positive things and negative things, and one negative things is the gangs. You already know, guys, that the gangs in Latin America and the groups of cartels, that's something that is becoming to a bad country, to every single country in Latin America. This is something that is becoming bad a country, and this is something that the governments they are fighting with the gangs, and they are fighting with all these groups that they are cartels. And I already know that one of the countries that it was so dangerous to visit it, and one of the countries that always it had a bad news, it was El Salvador. In Latin America, El Salvador it was one of the countries that it had a lot of gangs members and all this stuff. And if you in one opportunity visited El Salvador, wow, that's so crazy. That country, it was so crazy. But now the government, and now the president, Najib Bukele, he is working so hard, to fighting against the gangs, in that country. But I visited El Salvador when everything was so dangerous. Some years ago, couple years ago, I visited that country, and let me tell you my experience there. It was something so crazy when I visited. Trust me, that it was so dangerous. I felt like in one moment someone is gonna appear to me, someone gonna appears to me, and he gonna kill me or something like that, or he gonna give me some shots, uh, on my body or something like that. So that was one feeling I felt when I was there. uh, I went in some places, like it was, the places where only live the people that they have money and they have power, and they are politicians, or they are something like that, and they have money. But in every single country there are places that if you go to those places, trust me, that probably they're gonna say something like, hey, give me all your money, or give me everything that you have with you, or probably they're gonna kill you. So that's something that happens in these countries here in Latin America. And something bad is that some governments, they allowed all these things because they support the gangs members, they support the groups of cartels. But there are another part of governments that they are doing things good, like President Nayib Bukele. And now he is so famous for all this work that he is doing in that country, and I'm so happy for that. So now that everything changed in El Salvador, I want to visit. So if someone from Salvador is hearing this, so pretty coming soon, I will visit your country. And I want to know how more is changing in that country, how more is doing things, and how is everything, because I had a perspective from that country. And let me tell you that it was not only bad things. I had good experiences. The beaches there are so good, the weather is so good, the people is so friendly, and you can find, as I told you, people everywhere and selling on the streets, and they are so happy when they see someone else that is not from that country. So they are super polite, super friendly, and super respectful. And I had experiences so good in that country, but as well, everything that I saw when I was in that country too, that was something that I said, wow, this country, it is so crazy in the way that they are going. But now I want to visit El Salvador, and I want to go in there, and I want to explore and discover more places. And why not? I want to go, to some places that I heard that if you went, if you go to those places, at that time when everything was going bad, probably they would kill you. So I want to visit all these places and to see what is going on now right now. I want to see all these things and share my experience with you guys. But yeah, so let me tell you that all these things are making or becoming the Latin America, all the countries in Latin America, something bad or to have or to experience, something bad. But there are a lot of things that in Latin America every single government is doing so well. Another thing about the countries in Latin America is that there ain't enough jobs. So you already know there are thousands and thousands of people going and traveling in a illegal way to the United States. And this is because there ain't enough jobs opportunities to the people in these countries. And let me tell you that from my perspective there are jobs, yeah, because there are jobs, but we have in Latin American jobs that they pay so bad, the payment that you have, you know it is so bad, and you cannot have that freedom in your economy to do anything that you want. So that's something so sadly for me, when I remember everything I did. And in the last episode I told you that I did a lot of things, since when I was 10 years old. And that was because the jobs there are so bad. And yeah, you can find some good jobs, but it's so hard, it's so difficult, to work in one good place or to have a good salary. So all the salaries that you have in one country, like in Latin America, in one of the countries in Latin America, that is something so bad. Let me tell you a little bit about my experiences. So, as I told you, I worked in construction, and in construction, in so it was a salary so bad that I had, every single day. As a baker, I had a bad salary, and as well, imagined as a technician in air conditioners, I had too a bad salary. So what this means? This means that only English, as I told you in the last podcast, only English could give me that freedom in my economy. That was something that I was looking when I started to learn English, and that was to have a job where I could have that freedom in my economy. And always I said that I don't want to be a millionaire. I don't want to be, someone that it has thousands and millions or billions of dollars. No, only I want to be someone that it could have the necessary things. It could have, things that it is so necessary. But I don't want to, to be a millionaire or a billionaire. So these things is not with me. Only I wanted to have a freedom in my economy and to support myself, to support my family, and always going, in a way that it could feel so good for me, and don't feel freak out, don't feel like, oh my gosh, if I buy these shoes, or if I buy this shirt, or if I buy this t-shirt, or if I buy these pants, I don't want to have enough money, to my food, or I don't want to have enough money to pay the transportation to go to my job or something else. So it was something so difficult at that time. And now imagine people that they don't have, a good salaries in their jobs, and as well they have family, they have responsibilities, commitments, like to have, one children, or to have children, or to have one child. So that's something, wow, that the people feels, super desperate, and they only look to travel, illegal to the United States or to any other country, and to live there and to make more money. So that these things the people always do it. And if you can find, on the internet or whatever else, only you can find that in Latin America it is the most people that they travel illegal to the United States, because the United States is one of the most famous countries, to go and get a job and making money and to support your family, from the United States. So the things are so bad, and it's so sadly that only the people that they are, in the government or places like there, they only want to join, only with their people, their family, and they don't give you, to another people, the positions. Only they want to be in the same positions. So imagine that if one father is in one high position, so he wants that his children, they have that opportunity to be there, when he finished working in that place or working in that company. And they don't want that anyone else, start to growing. And there are jobs that is, with so bad salary, and as well, something bad I've experienced in my country in Latin America. It was, when I started, to work. I remember that when I was looking jobs, only they wanted that you have, experience for at least 6 or 8 or 1 year, of experience in the position job that you were applying. So that was something that always I was like, man, what is going on with them? So they want that I have an experience, and what is going on? So I know that at that time I had, experiences, like I said, in construction, and as a baker, handling with people, in air conditioners and all this stuff. So I could have, some experiences that it would be so good for me. But as well, when I was going to some places and I was trying to apply to different jobs, it was something difficult because always they put, a trouble, to don't give me the position, because always they wanted, that if you're applying to that job position, you need to have experience in that position. So that is something so bad in my perspective, because in that way, how the teenagers and, the younger adults, they gonna grow up, or they gonna get a job, or how the country, they gonna build, things more better. So there ain't, creating good opportunities to teenagers, to young adults. So that is something so bad. So what they are thinking, that is something that is becoming countries in Latin America, something so bad. And for this, all the people, they only think, to travel to illegal to the United States and doing these things, because it is something so sadly only thinking these things. It mean that the people that they live, on the streets, because they once in their life they were, in groups of gangs, or they were in groups of, they, consume drugs, and they do drugs, once in their life, or they are still doing drugs. So it's so sadly, to go into different streets and only look people, in some cases, families, living on the streets. That's something that make me cry every single time when I remember and all this stuff, and every single time when I have the opportunity to support someone on the streets. Just I do that, because it's something that it make you cry when you're looking these things, with your eyes, and you have everything in front of you, and you're looking, all these things. So as I told you, there are a lot of things that it could be so beautiful, and you can speak of them, in a positive way of the countries in Latin America, but as well there are things like this in our countries, and the governments in every single country, they don't do anything, for improving these areas, for make something that are gonna help the teenagers, that are gonna help, the childrens that they are always, or they are still, study, because these people, the young, the teenagers, the young people, the teenagers, and the young adults, they're gonna make one country, something so good. They're gonna become a country in a good way, and they can give a lot of things, and make a lot of things to a country. So they need to work so much with the teenagers, because one teenager is so easy that join, to a gang, you know, a gang, or to join to one group of people that they consume, drugs, and to do things in the wrong way. So please, if someone is hearing this, from a government, so you need to work so hard with teenagers, with children, and young adults. So these things are so bad about the countries in Latin America, and trust me, as I told you, the people is so friendly, but you can find good things about every single country. But as well, there are things that are, so dark, and the people doesn't want to talk about these things. So if you enjoyed this, guys, so please give it a like, please leave your comment, and please subscribe to this channel. And in another episode, probably gonna tell you more about pros and cons of living in one country in Latin America, because there are tons and thousands things about to share with you. But I want to make another podcast and share with you all these things. But for now, this is everything for this podcast episode, and I'll see you in another one episode. So guys, bye bye.